I'm going to go over some of the sample outlines and just explain how you might use them for your own outline. So because I have given you the sample outlines, you know the formatting is already done correctly. If you don't wish to use my sample outlines and just backspace where I have stuff and put your own due date or whatever it happens to be, then you should look up how to create an MLA format outline using your computer software. If you're using a computer that is a Mac, for example, the way that you set yours up may be different. Just remember, no matter what kind of computer you are using, you need to save your work to your computer as a .docs or .pdf, because Blackboard won't let me open any other type of attachment. So be very sure you do that so you don't get a 0. All right, so you'll have your heading. You'll have a working title for your whole essay. This title may end up being revised in the upcoming draft or in the final revision of the essay, but make sure that you have something creative and original for your title, certainly by the time you turn in your final draft. You don't have to put your thesis up here necessarily. Definitely, it must be at the bottom of your introductory paragraph. But you're welcome to put them both places. You'll see that here's the working thesis here, and I needed this little transition word here. So I just added that to the thesis statement at the end of the introduction. Of course, you're going to start with a hook. Then you're going to give some background or context. Tell me what is the current conversation about this topic, and then write the thesis. Then section 2, Roman numeral 2, is your argument. You're going to establish your argument and give me a source that backs up your first reason for taking that stance on this topic. Okay, so you're going to have a main idea sentence, maybe more than one. Something might need to be said even further about the main idea to transition well into your introduction of the source. This is a very simple introduction of the source. If you have further information about the credentials of that source, that would be key. That will really help your argument. So adding additional information about why your source is a credible source can really help support your argument by showing that you have done really good research and used really reliable sources. Then after you quote anything, you need to comment on that quote, react to it, or reiterate it. If I need to explain it further or explain my position and what the main idea that I'm getting from that source is, that should be done in the sentence following the quotation. And then the final sentence of every body paragraph is to answer so what, or why, or how. Why does this matter to the point you've made in the main idea sentence of the paragraph and to the overall thesis. Then you'll do the same thing with another reason and give another source. You'll notice that this source up here did not have an author given, so it was just noted as the author of, and the title of the article was here. And because there was no author and I already gave the title of the article, which is what would be first on the works cited for that source that you can see here, then I did not have a parenthetical citation for that one for that reason. Because what would go in the parenthetical citation would be either the author's last name or the title of the article, whatever's first in the works cited. I already used that here, so I don't need a parenthetical citation there. Then, same thing, main idea sentence, introduce the quotation with the name of the author, and then directly quote using quotation marks around that quotation, end by not adding a period until after the parenthetical citation. I went ahead and added the title of the article there in the parenthetical citation. Wouldn't necessarily have to do that because the author's last name should be first in the works cited for the source, so technically I could really leave that off. But if you're in doubt and you feel like I must have a parenthetical citation and you've already used the author's name to introduce the source, you could do it this way. That would be fine. This is actually from a student essay, so I'm just going over some of their choices and why they may have made those choices. Again, after you have quoted someone, you need to react to that quote or reiterate, restate it in your own words. That helps your reader understand how you are interpreting the words you've just quoted. And then the last sentence of every paragraph is going to be the so what. Then you're going to move to the counter argument, starting with language like some may say. So give the other side without sounding like you have changed your mind. So that's why we say some may say, so it doesn't sound like you think this. You're just acknowledging the other side. And then you're giving a source, and you're saying who it is, what they wrote. And this quotation is introduced with a complete sentence. But I don't want a period right before any quote, or I have a dropped quotation. So if you want to introduce a quotation with a complete sentence, be sure to use a colon to connect that complete sentence to the quotation. This is kind of a long quotation, so if it ended up being more than 4 lines of quoted material in the draft, when it got to that point, once all the outline formatting is taken away, you might need to use a block quotation format. So look in your SAM student handout to see how to do block quotations, or on the resources I've posted for you in Blackboard, demonstration videos and sample essays. Then react to, use the green to react to what I've just quoted, or what the student has just quoted in her own words is what she's doing here. And then the final sentence probably needs its own Roman numeral. But if you end up with some connected, that's okay. I just want to make sure that you understand there are different jobs different sentences do. And this last sentence's job is to give the so what, or the why, or the how, and then transition into your rebuttal. And the rebuttal is where you come back and acknowledging that this is a good idea or logical, not a stupid idea. You cannot win an argument by calling the other side stupid or immoral because they just turn that conversation off. You want to give them some credit for having thought about an important part of the argument. And then you want to make sure that you have the rebuttal stated clearly. So here is when you will reiterate your argument using your best source. So I recommend saving your best quotation for the rebuttal. Some students just don't even put a quotation in the rebuttal at all, and that's not advisable, because if you do that, you're ending up with a quotation that is the last quotation you use is for the other side. That's no good. You want to use your strongest evidence to end the body of the essay. And then, of course, your conclusion is going to reiterate your thesis, restate your thesis in a new way, but use some of the same key words. Present your argument again one more time. Review the main points or reasons for that argument, and then leave with a parting idea. Often connecting back to the hook is a good way to end your essay. So then remember to do the works cited for the outline. You can just use it this way. You can put the works cited just at the end, or if you want to insert a page break, just click insert and page break like that, and then it's on a new page, which is how it should be done for the final revision of the essay. All right, so that's one example. You have other sample outlines that you could use. This one's based on one of the videos that you have explaining how to do an argumentation essay, and it gives you a lot of detail without using, it's not my sample, it's like what is the hook, and it explains the hook, and then it tells you what to do next, and then it tells you what you might use for a thesis, okay? And so you would backspace what I have and put your own stuff there, answering those questions or doing those activities. I also have links explaining what goes in the body paragraph. And then I just have topic sentence, your first reason, and then I have introduce your evidence. And then I explain how to integrate your source. I explain block quotations, or I have a link to show you those things in videos. Then I tell you the green part is to explain your evidence, explain that quotation. And then the D part is relate the point made by the source you have used back to the topic sentence and the thesis of the whole essay. You will do that again in another body paragraph. Okay, so you have links to show you how to integrate sources, explain how or why you're doing what you're doing in each body paragraph, and importantly, the counter argument gives you a link to explain counter arguments. And this is a reminder to continue to present the counter argument, making it clear that you have not changed your mind about this. You're just presenting what other people say. So some may say that. You can use those exact words to start your counter argument. And then give one of their reasons, provide a source, integrate it well, explain the other side's point of view. You can put your rebuttal, this D part says rebuttal, so you could have your rebuttal just at the end of the counter argument paragraph. If you do that, that's fine. Just make sure you actually use a source. Here's how the rebuttal looks if you don't use the same paragraph. If it gets really long or if it looks not the same as your other body paragraphs, like you've got 2 normal size paragraphs and then 1 huge paragraph, you might want to make your rebuttal its own paragraph after the counter argument. And here's a demonstration of that. So if you just did the rebuttal here, you could backspace all this and not have that part. But do make sure you use a source for your rebuttal, using your best source to support your rebuttal. Here's a demonstration video. And then here's the conclusion paragraph. It explains the conclusion, the order of the elements of the conclusion paragraph. Here's a video explaining how to write it. Do not start with the phrase "in conclusion." Don't do that anymore in college. And then make sure you do your works cited. This little template does not have a works cited, but you make sure that you do have your works cited. And then here is one last sample. This one is kind of the bare bones and just has, you know, the elements that you need. So for the purposes of writing your own stuff, you could just look at what is in one of the other samples and use this so that you don't have to backspace so much stuff. So for my hook, I might, instead of leaving that there, I might say, one day, I don't know, whatever your hook is, like the scenario or whatever it is that you're coming up with. Imagine a world where everyone had a living wage. Could be a certain kind of hook that you might use. Okay, so a scenario is an imaginary kind of thing where you kind of get your reader interested. Okay, so then you have the context, so that's what's the conversation being had. You have the thesis, then the argument has claim, support for that claim, then explain. Okay, same thing here, then the counter argument. Okay, so I have a video showing you the counter argument, or for combining the counter argument and rebuttal, you can watch those. I also included a separate Roman numeral for the rebuttal if you wanted to make those 2 separate paragraphs. And then I have the conclusion. Again, don't forget the works cited. This one actually has a fill in the blank works cited for you if you've forgotten how to do the works cited, or you could use this as your works cited guide as well. And here is a link to MLA format works cited. All right, good luck with your outline. Email me if you have any questions at all. I'll be happy to hear from you.